This is Wretched Radio with Todd Friel.
Judging the dead? This is Wretched Radio. Ravi Zacharias has caused a lot of internet chatter, and as seems to always be the case, there's at least 200 sides to this story, but perhaps one of the big lines of the story of the death of Ravi Zacharias is, should we even be talking about him? After all, he's dead. Let it be. Should we be talking about Ravi or any other individual who professes to be a Christian post-mortem? And I think the answer to that question, of course, is definitively, it depends. If you're talking about him like TMZ or Entertainment Tonight, that is not appropriate, but just because the man was involved in a very high-profile ministry, it doesn't mean that he can't be rightly discussed. We must have the right attitude, strive for the correct tone, but just because somebody is dead, it does not let them off the hook from any sort of public scrutiny. A public figure steps into the arena, and while he may sometimes receive applause, there are other times there are going to be jeers. The individual accepts that, knows that, and is willing to endure that. And so it is, as we study what happened to Ravi Zacharias, we would like to wisely consider what lessons can be learned. We don't want to turn this into some sort of cable news debate about the man. We don't want to be unnecessarily cruel. And yet I would like to make the case that we're not compelled to do this. It's not mandatory. But to the many, many people who would say, hey, it's not fair, I would like to build the case that it is entirely fair. One, consider his victims. There are indeed women, many women, and we only know about a handful of them, who were sexually abused by Ravi Zacharias, which leads me to point number 2. We're not talking about a guy who took a lollipop from a child on an airplane. We're talking about somebody who did very wicked things. I know you perhaps didn't read the report. We're talking about rape here. An individual who claims to be an ambassador for Jesus Christ raped women. This isn't just a kind of innuendo. There was a study done by a firm that does this, and they did not do much more than study the tip of the iceberg. They admitted it. We did not go far into this, but we think we've already got enough to reveal Ravi was a wicked man. I know that maybe hurts to hear if you followed him and loved him. But Christians, number 3, who do not have a willingness to be as honest as the world is in assessing him, I think it makes us look foolish. The world would read that report that was released by his ministry, and they would go, that dude was wicked. And if we say, hey, let's just let the dead be, it makes us look a little bit naive, or perhaps it makes us look like we're involved in a cover-up. We're not willing to confront things honestly. Fourth, we're the truth tellers. We're the people who should be honest about things and willing to discuss things. And we wouldn't do it with Ravi, and we wouldn't even do it with an unbeliever. We wouldn't talk about them like, neater, they're dead, yippee skippy, and let's just trot out the trash. Nobody has a desire to do that. But to the many people who are saying, just don't do it, just let's move on from the subject, I think for the aforementioned reasons, that's just the wrong response. Do you need to talk about this at dinner tonight? No. but as part of the public discourse that happens in our country, because this man was a public figure, to not be willing to talk about it because it's downright disgusting is not an excuse. We posted a video on this subject a couple of days ago because we wanted to offer our perspective on it, believing that perhaps, maybe, possibly, we could offer something somewhat unique. We did not dive into the salacious details of the life of Ravi Zacharias, but we wanted to study smoke of a different sort. Not that anybody would see Ravi Zacharias, when he does his lectures, he doesn't wear a tie. It's an open collar. He's raping women. That's ridiculous. But what we did see was smoke from a different fire, and it was all theological. That there was compromise going on all the way back to at least 2004. His willingness to give a pass to Mormonism, Roman Catholicism, transgenderism. And these are things that we must learn from going forward. If you are following a ministry that is not robust in its defense of the gospel, I would encourage you to reconsider your affiliation and your support, prayer, financial, whatever it is. If this is a ministry that is not willing to stand on the truth, and by the way, you are going to see more and more ministries that are not willing to do that as there is more and more pressure for evangelicals to buckle or go to jail, as we are just starting to see a little bit. If a ministry will not stand on the solas of the Reformation, the Orthodox fundamentals, they are not worthy of our adoration, let alone sharing of videos, promoting, sending them money. And by the way, that goes for this ministry too. Whatever standard we appear to be defining, if we don't meet it, you should run and you should reject us. This is not, he's dead and we're alive, so we're going to trash talk him. And isn't it easy for us? No. Any ministry, including ours, that does not robustly proclaim the truth of Jesus Christ just isn't worthy of your support. I'm not saying that the people who are running that ministry or the spokespeople are molesting women in massage parlors. Not saying that. But I'm saying they're not worthy of our attention. Find somebody solid. Find somebody better. And as we hopefully wrap up, because our attention spans are just as short as the world's, the conversation on Ravi Zacharias, let us not have conversations that are neater, that are intended to be hurtful to the family, that are not intended to be salacious or just done for ratings or views or clicks. But let's not be in the other ditch and not willing to discuss it. Jimmy, you were the man assigned to go through our Facebook page after the video was posted. There were about 500 comments there. And there were, you would say, more than a few folks who just thought this is not a conversation that we should be having.
Absolutely. There were many commenters that didn't understand why we took it upon ourselves to speak about it when obviously you haven't spoken about it up until this point.
Right.
Why are we speaking about it now? He's dead.
Right. And you know what? There's sometimes that you would just let it go. And there's a lot of people who have died doing similar things that we don't talk about. And I'm not telling you that our model and our standards are perfect. Well, even if they are, I'm not saying that we follow them correctly. Ravi Zacharias was perhaps one of the most high-profile evangelicals in the world. The Vice President of the United States attended his funeral. He's a big deal. Who are we to judge? Well, we're Christians, and we're called to judge with righteous judgment, Jesus said in John chapter 7, not with a snooty-tooty attitude, not with an air of superiority, and not in a salacious way or a promotional way, but we are to judge. And to the people who said we're all sinners, of course we are. But if we could never practice any sort of discernment because we're sinners, then we'd never practice any sort of discernment. Of course we are. And we shouldn't do it with a log in our eye. Let he who is without sin cast the first stone, said some people commenting. You're right. If we're doing it because we just want to be cruel or we think that we are above any such temptation, you're absolutely right. But when a high-profile, professing believer makes such a public, scandalous end to his ministry life and to his own life, if there are lessons that can be learned, then we're foolish to miss them. And so it is, we will endeavor to do just that. Appropriately learn lessons from Ravi. Next on Wretched Radio. Good evening, my fellow totally depraved Americans.